Coaches Connection, connecting you and the greater DMV to local sports programs, as well as the coaches that inspire our local youth.
Roy Tate, and I want to welcome everyone to another edition of Coach Connection, where we connect the coaches that's making a difference in our community to the world. Welcome, coaches. How are you all today?
Doing well.
I guess we all want to speak at the same time. Go ahead, Mr. Mason.
As I just being thankful that we're here to, let's say, keep it on.
Keep it on. That's what I'm talking about. And I'm really honored today to have three of these men who have been changing the lives of young people in this city for years. And so I don't know where to start because I want to be respectful, but I don't want to call no names out. I want you all to introduce. I have two more people on the guest. Please introduce yourselves.
All right, I'll go first, Rudy. I'm Donnie Shaw, and I'm the board chair of Woodridge Warriors Youth Organization.
Sorry, I'm Rudy Knox, Executive Director of the Woodridge Warriors Youth Organization.
Fantastic. And last but not least, tell us your name one more time, sir.
Rudy Knox.
All right. Okay.
My name is Mason Clark, one of the original founders, I guess 57 plus years ago. And I'm somebody now that have done my work in the trenches and just here trying to help anyone else that needs any help, what I can bring without having an awful lots of internet knowledge. So I'm just happy to be around to be able to do whatever I can to help someone else.
Well, we welcome you. We welcome you. Could you gentlemen give us some insight about the organization that you represent? Tell us a little bit about who you all are, what you do.
This is the okay. To begin with, let's say that I'm one of the original founders.
You're the last.
I was not supposed to have been coaching at the time. I was helping another father coach his team, and after about 2 weeks at the beginning of the year, this is all the way back in '63, he stopped showing up for practice. And so when I started trying to find out where he was and what was happening, and the boys on the team said, well, Mason, why don't you coach it? You're here, we can depend on you. And so 57 years later, I'm still here, but not in charge of anything, but just trying to help out the people that took up on themselves to work their butts off to try to keep the program going.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Mr. Shaw, could you tell us, Coach Shaw, can you tell us what's going on now with the team?
Well, when it comes to programs, I'm going to pass that question on to Rudy. I'll play a major role on the board operations and some of our goals for the organization when you're ready for that part.
So right now we've got 5 football teams. We're starting up with fall baseball, where we had 200 kids during the spring, and we've got basketball workouts.
Cheerleading.
And cheerleading.
So you all interact with boys and girls. Can you give us an idea, what's the age?
So we service kids from ages 5 to 16.
Okay. And when you think about the impact that your program is having on the students' lives now, can you give us some insight? Because a lot of times people don't know how important organized sports are in our children's lives.
So what I like to say to our parents is I don't consider us to be a sports organization, but an organization that uses sports to teach kids. So we use sports to impart life lessons and values to our children.
Okay. And Mr. Shaw, let's get you in here. You talked about the board. So I'm just guessing that this is a community coming together to make sure that no child is left who doesn't want to participate.
That is the mantra of our last remaining founder, Mr. Mason Clark. And that is one of the legs that we stand on, is leaving no child behind. No child is turned away. And when it comes to the board, we have developed the board over the last 2 years to be quite mosaic and inclusive. We have members of the board that comes from academia, members of the board that live right across the street from our home base of Taft Field near Perry Street. We have members of the board that came up in the program since being a child and knocking the front tooth out of Mr. Mason doing baseball practice. We have on the board one of the granddaughters of one of the late founders. And we have on the board folks that are just people that want to give back. And when it comes to the board, we have a range of ages. We're currently working on trying to get a treasurer and a young board member. So I'm putting out a pitch for that while we have this platform. So our board is hands-on. We have 4 standing committees, and fundraising is one of the committees. And back to that simple website, that is a great place for anyone to start. I know we're probably not ready for the fundraising chatter yet, but that's a great place to start to learn about the organization and do the donation.
So as a founding member, could you give us some examples of some of the success stories that you have witnessed? Some of the students who maybe played baseball for you and now not only are they on your board, but can you give us an example of some of the successes that have come through the team participation?
Okay, that's fairly easy, and I could be here for 3 hours talking about it. But anyway, I will start with, I know you probably heard of Len Bias.
Yes.
And he was one of our early participants. And so we've had people going through our program that have played professional football, major league, on the baseball, call his name, Manny Bird. Yeah, Manny Bird went through our program. And then about 2 or 3 more had one father that just brought his kid back to us. He was coaching with Pepper Mill, and he brought his son back to our program. Now, he played football, baseball, and basketball with us. He also was on the team that I coached in stadium in 93 or 94. We've had a number of other people in between. So an awful lot of people that made a big name for themselves in sport, but also a lot of them have went into teaching, went into coaching. There's alumni from Woodridge coaching in every segment of this DMV. And so I feel very deeply that we have had an impact with an awful lot of kids down through the years who had difficulties in life. And I think, almost every day I'm hearing people telling me that, you probably saved my life, or you saved so many people's lives. And I think altogether, if I can remember correctly, I've had about 19 or 20 kids that have lived with me for a certain period of time, because of so much difficulty in their home or in the neighborhood in which they live. Because I had a great nephew. No, yeah, a great nephew.
Mm-hmm.
A great nephew who mother and father brought him up from Newport News. He lived with me for about 2.5 years. They said they wanted me to get him straight.
Get him straight.
So he is one of the closest relatives of mine now, because he married. His kids are, in college, finished college and everything.
So these are lessons that are changing lives. Could you go into a little detail? I'm gonna get some of these other coaches that's on the line. Let's talk about some of the principles that you install in these young persons while they're learning the techniques of baseball and football and basketball.
Hey, Farad, can I interrupt before we go to that one?
Yeah, please, please.
On the distinguished alumni that you were asking about, just to help out Mr. Mason, because he still has one heck of a memory. If you go to our website, wwyo.org, you can tab on to the history of the organization. You'll see alumni that includes Josh Cribbs.
Wow.
You'll see Usama Young, who played for the Cleveland Browns. You'll see Vernon Davis, the Dunbar High School graduate who played for the 49ers, and the list goes on.
That's what I'm talking about. Yes. And see, those individuals who are out there, as well as those teachers that you talked about who played, can you tell us what are some of the core principles that your athletes learn under your guidance?
Dedication, discipline, and desire.
The 3 Ds.
Yes.
Could have very easily add hard work.
Hard work to it. It makes a difference. Makes a difference. So now let's get into your gaming and your schedule. So if a person wants to come out, because you have the student, you empower the parent because the child is learning and the child comes back home. Can you give us an idea of how this affects the whole community?
Well, I would say one thing, and I don't like to really brag about my family, but I'm very proud of my 2 grandsons, the twins, that they're freshmen at Georgetown Prep, on mostly a free ride, and one of them is number one. He's never missed the number 1 honor roll since 3rd grade.
Wow.
And so the head coach at Georgetown, football coach at Georgetown Prep, had them on the JV team, and that's where he thought that he had them, that where they would be for this year, because they're 9th graders. Then the JV had a scrimmage game with the school in Annapolis, and the next week the head coach came and got both of them out of their classes to meet with them at the same time, and told them that the JV thing was a history for them, that all of the coaches through all the teams discussed what they did in the JV game and said that they were wasting their time on the JV team. So they moved them to varsity. And the head coach said he's been at Georgetown Prep for 19 years. And he said it's the first time in all his time at Georgetown Prep that he's had a freshman on the varsity. So it's 2 out of 72 players on the varsity team, and only 2 are freshmen.
Freshmen. So when you give a young person the proper guidance, it's amazing where they can end up. I want to talk a little bit more detail about some of the instruction and the impact that it has on the whole community. We have another coach that's kind of quiet over there. Can you tell us about what impact has your coaching these young persons had on the community?
Well, I could say that not only have we had kids that have gone on to professional sports, but we've had kids that matriculate and do all kinds of positive in the community. We've got lawyers, police officers, judges, accountants, all types of professions for kids that have come out of our program. Yeah. We attract attention of some of the other schools, some of the upper schools in the area that come down and give our kids opportunities that they wouldn't have if they weren't exposed to our program.
Okay. Now, in this time of COVID, can you give us an idea of what type of games and what kind of pivots have your team made because of COVID to really not only keep the young people safe, but also when the community come out to the games?
Right, so last year, when we're in the midst of the pandemic, we actually shut down and didn't do any in-person meetings. We did some Zoom meetings with the kids to kind of help them stay engaged. But we stayed off the field and off the court during the height of the pandemic, following the recommendations from the health advisors. This year, we're out. We started back in, I guess, April, and with baseball, and we kind of did social distancing as best we could. We didn't have kids congregating in the dugouts, kept them outside, kept them sort of separated with masks on, cleaning the equipment, keeping them safe.
We had the biggest number ever.
Yeah, we had the biggest number ever, so it was a challenge, but I think we were successful.
Okay, so now that we know that you have a history, this is a history. This is not something that you are just starting. We want to know that the community has to play a role. So if I can't ask, what type of engagement could the community do to support you in what you are doing to help these young students?
Question as a volunteer on the board. This is an all volunteer organization that has survived this many years. There are no paid staff. So we are in need of committed people that will make a commitment and will do the work. And again, I share with you that we had 4 committees. Now the community has been engaged by way of the politicians, the homeowners, the local schools, and the DC government. We have a standing relationship with our ANC commissioner, who happens to be the ANC commissioner chair for Ward 5, and that's Ursula Higgins. Our base field is in her dominion, and she is a stalwart supporter of the organization. She's helped us with fundraising. She's helped us with problem solving. We have Councilman Kenyon McDuffie and his staff on our side as a supporter. We have John Burroughs and Perry Street Academy, the 2 most immediate schools nearby, as supporters. We use Perry Street Academy, better known as Taft School for those of the day, offering facilities for us to run our basketball program and our indoor training. And that requires, again, community involvement, networking, relationship building. And from John Burroughs has turned into a feeder. And that allows us to get elementary school kids that stay with our program for years to come, keeping this program viable. So that's just an example of some of the community. We have local merchants up on the Rhode Island Avenue, Mr. Weingarter, who offered us his place at no charge to have a fundraiser during the Christmas of 2019. We would have had it in 2020, but as you know, that was Cancer Culture 2020. And we have engagement with Good Foods up on Rhode Island and 20th. And we even had a long support standing with Rhode Island's Liquors, who has been generous with not the alcohol, but the sodas, the drinks, for whether we're doing concessions or whether we're having a special event, but underwriting the drinks for us. So and we also had support from the local cell phone place right there on Rhode Island Avenue. The name just lost me, but it's right at Rhode Island Avenue and 18th Street, the mobile.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you said that, because a lot of times we drive by and we see our students practicing catching balls and we think, oh, the coach got it or someone else got it. But these are our children, and we wanted to engage the community in not only coming to the game. So can you tell us some game schedule, but we want to see if we can inspire some other businesses as well as individuals to write checks so that, you're not a government funded entity. Am I correct? This is all private, right?
That is a good way of putting it. We do go after government grants. Can't say that we score tremendously, but we rely on a lot more on public dollars than government dollars. And the public dollars, hats off to a business like Dick's Sporting Good, who has taken us under their wing to help us financially and such.
Okay, so I heard right. You said about 200 students participating. So that's a lot of young persons that you have off the street. You have doing something that would change their whole life and empower the community. Can you tell us your game schedule? Like, when can someone come out and maybe watch these students play?
Games will be every Saturday starting September 25th. We don't have the actual schedule yet. We will have it on our website when it's released by Department of Recreation. That's the football league we play in. So that would be the next schedule that will be posted. We will have Saturday games also down at our field for baseball. We haven't got the schedule figured out yet, but we will post that on our website once it's available.
Okay. And Mr. Shar, you was also about to say something also?
Yeah, I was stumbling trying to remember US Mobile One, which is our neighbor, but that is a business that has come on board to help us out too.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you gentlemen one final question. Coach Connection, it's all about giving you the resources and connecting you to the resources you need so that you can continue to do what it is that you do well, and that's save lives through sports. So my last question, and I'm so honored to just have you all for this time. Could you tell us, what does the future looks like for your organization? What should we, those of us who are writing these checks, those of us who are looking to connect our businesses to you, what does the future look like? What more are you all willing and able to do because of the support from the community?
I would let Mr. Mason start as the pinnacle, and then I would have Rudy follow behind that, and then I will be the base of the triangle.
Thank you.
I think with Councilman Lightfoot driving by the field, I think this is his first year in office, and seeing me and about eight or 10 boys out on the field with lawnmowers cutting the field so we could practice. And he parked out on South Dakota Avenue, almost where he was, and came out there and wanted to know what was all of this about. And so he was the first person that started contributing to us on a regular basis. I think he bought 3 tractors, our first 3 tractors for cutting the field. Councilman Lightfoot paid for it. All he asked me to do was go pick out the tractor that was usable and get a bill, bring it to him, he'd write a check for me, then we would get that kind of equipment. We've had a number of people. The Dickie Carter Foundation is who put the scoreboard up down there. He contributed to us on a regular basis until he had it out with one of our ex-city councilmen. He was demanding that the city council do more to help us. And he confronted more than one member of the city council that if the city council gave us more, he would match whatever they gave us. And so we went a few years without anything from the city council, and we can't even get him to answer the phone anymore. We've had another gentleman that read the article in a newspaper that was written back in the 70s. And he was head of a lot of real estate things in the area. And he contributed to us immensely on a consistent basis, I would say, for 20 or 25 years. But when he lost his wife, he moved away, just moved out in the Chesapeake Bay. He got one of the homes on the bay now, and that's where he lived. And so we lost him after his wife passed. So we've had a lot of solid support. One of the main ones that I like more than almost anything else, the couple that held our concession for 36 years. Wow. Their son started with us, then their son went through us, and these grandparents still handling our concession until the wife lost her health. So there's no way we could have done what we've done without a lot of help. And a lot of the good, solid help that we've had, the people had no kids in the program. A lot of them didn't even live in DC. We still get quite a bit from maybe Prince George's County, but Virginia, I don't know how we lost out. To the best of my knowledge, we're not getting any major contribution from the state of Virginia, but I'm behind the scene. I'm not in charge of anything, and I don't bug the people that are busy working.
Well, we're honored that you're here. We're honored that you're here. So give us some insight also now, and you laid at tremendous roots. Give us an insight of what's next. What does the future look like to support? Because we want to get more people supporting and want them to understand that the only way for us to continue to have a legacy is that we continue to support what's going on now. So talk to me about the future. What does it look like? What's next? What are you all building?
You want to give your perception, Mr. Mason, on what do you think the future looks for us quickly?
Okay, well, my thing is, if we can keep adults, serious-minded adults involved with our volunteer program, to me, I think this has been one of the biggest driving force that we have had for a long time, is what kind of volunteer help that we're able to keep drawing to us. Because the kids are there, they have the talent, and one big thing that we seriously need, and it was great for us for so many years, that we had a tutorial program and a counseling program. We've lost, I can't say that we lost it, but we don't have it now, simply because we don't have that help in that kind of area that we used to have that was better. But I think the future is great. It will be great if we can start getting a little bit more serious-minded volunteers. And as I said before, we have strived an awful lot with volunteers that had no kids in our program. A number of them didn't have any kids, period, but just seeing what we're doing with passing. And so I feel that we can have a little bit more luck recruiting adults where we can have the full program that we used to have. I think that is the bottom line. 'Cause lots of the kids that turned out to be great athletes for us didn't come to us because of sport. They came through us through the recommendation from the schools about helping them, the kids with the tutorial work.
Fantastic. Okay. And again, this is information that we want to get out. Coaching Connection is about getting the information out to people, and we want them to know what it is you need so that they can directly connect to you. Is there any more insight about the future? And because we want to then end with you, Mr. Shaw, talking about how people can make those checks, how they can get registered and come out and be assistant coaches. How can we give you all the support that you all need? So give us a little bit more insight also about how people can be engaged and what's next for you all.
Don't mind, Farah, can we save the best for last? Because Rudy could give us some insight on what the future of our programming looks like. Which is
fantastic. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, so we want to continue providing these positive services for our kids. Like you said, we're giving them something other to do than being out on the streets. We're giving them something positive to do. We're helping them stay fit. We're helping to keep their minds sharp. And we want to continue that. It's always been a challenge with finances because we do rely on, it's private dollars that we mostly rely on, donations and that type of thing to help us continue. So that's always a struggle, is to get enough to be able to buy all the equipment that we need to keep the kids safe. And now during the COVID time, we have to buy even more stuff for sanitation, which puts a strain on our financial resources. But I see, with the Lord willing and the generous donations that we hope to receive, that we can continue this program for another 57 years.
And Rudy,
fantastic.
Can you add on about what our future look like for our program, the future of our standing activities versus us adding new activities possibly in the future?
Well, we've always had discussions about changing with our neighborhood and what the people in our neighborhood want. So we've had discussions about maybe adding some other sports, like maybe soccer or lacrosse.
Fantastic. Okay, now
I'll take that last part, which is literally the legs that we stand on, and that's the public-private support. Our future is very digital, if I may say. And what does that mean? The way we communicate is going very digital. The way that we market ourselves is going very digital. The way that we do data mining is absolutely very digital. We're getting, from a board standpoint, we're heading towards analysis where we can provide empirical data on our impact that'll complement the at-a-glance information that you can see on our website. But being able to show the impact of a child from the first day we got them to the day they become a parent, we're trying to figure out means of documenting that and providing that overview of the impact that this organization does. I mean, it literally creates families. If you look at what happens with these youngsters that grow up and become parents, and families create a stronghold for the success of any organization, and especially ours. We've looked at putting a lot of emphasis on the younger kids, hoping to keep them in our fold as they matriculate up, and it keeps us with a full house of youngsters. So concentrating on the young has been one of our goals versus the older kids per se. We're looking at addressing the concussion fear factor in our programming, whether we have contact football for a certain age group and flag for another age group, responding to the concussion fear factor. That's on the programming side. But on the fundraising side, we definitely have gone into the digitalization of funding, where you can go on our website and push a button. That is the future of our funding, in addition to us applying for grants on the internet versus the old school of faxing and mailing. So we've made arrangements on our website to ride along with this digitalization of operations. And then on the board development side, it still has the old-fashioned mechanism where we interview our board members in committee style, and we do a little background check on them and get their letter of intention, et cetera, et cetera. So those are the three areas, that is looking at where our programming is going to run alongside of who our immediate families are around our base, knowing that we have an influx of new young parents and children coming into our community who we hope to capture. The other is our digitalization of our operations. And the third is our volunteer development. Just this morning, I had a meeting with our senior volunteer coordinator on creating a management system of volunteers.
Thank you. It takes a community to raise our children, and it is so we're so grateful to have all your coaching and all the things that you do to connect. When your child learns to play organized sports, it is so measured in data how it impacts that child's whole life, but also how it impacts the community that child lives in. If you're out there and you can volunteer, this is the time to meet that young person before he becomes a teenager disconnected to the community. When you have an opportunity to throw a ball with a young person in a controlled environment, this is the time to make sure that child catches the spirit of knowing that you care. And we at Coach Connection want to continue to support you all in what you do. So if you all don't mind giving us any final words that will inspire people to come out to watch the games, to make sure that the young people, parents know that this is the team that they should connect to, as well as this is the team that they should be writing a check to. Even if your child doesn't play on the team, this is a community affair where we all come together. Final words, coaches, from each of you, please.
Let's go with the triangle again. We start with Mr. Mason. Well, actually, let's go opposite. I'll go first, and we'll end with Mr. Mason, our last founding member of this organization. Certainly, if you're interested in volunteering for this organization in any capacity, use our website to connect with us, and we will follow up. I won't load you up with a bunch of website call out numbers and stuff, but if you use our website of www.yo.org, we can follow up with you as a volunteer, and your dollars count. It's all tax deductible. We are a 501c3 organization. And if you can help us in that arena, you certainly will make us last. As Mr. Farrar said, you will make this legacy last, because it takes money to run this organization in addition to the human capital. And again, our website is our major tool to reach out to us, and we will certainly follow up with you. And we're looking to build the Friends of Woodridge Warriors, which is a new platform on our fundraising committee. And that will incorporate folks that came through Woodridge Warriors and folks that are now joining for Woodridge Warriors and folks that want to be a part of Woodridge Warriors. And Rudy, our budget is about how much?
This year, it's probably about $75,000. So I would just like to add to that all of our coaches, volunteers, everything are just that. They're volunteers. Everybody does this just for the love of helping our children. So every dollar that we get goes towards buying equipment, paying for insurance, dealing with safety issues, and all those things that are needed to put on a rewarding program for our participants.
The field fees. That's correct. That includes the field fees and the league fees.
All right. And
And
final words
from
from our legacy coach.
Yeah, any final words to
Oh, just found what. Okay, excuse me on that. Okay, and I guess the biggest thing I can say, period, is I'm so thankful. There's been so many good, outstanding people that didn't have to do for the organization, didn't have to be a part of the organization, but yet they chose to be a part of the organization because this is what they wanted to do, regardless of what reason. But as long as it stays positive, it's something that we can always use and always build on. And if it's nothing more than just a moment of thinking about some of the people that wound up being medical doctors, head of athletic department at different schools, head coaches in football, basketball, you name it. Oh, Sekou Gorn at Dunbar with defensive coordinator. Oh, he's someone who started out in our program and stayed with it all the way until he got to high school. And had come back and helped us a little bit, but he's moving up the ladder at Dunbar now. And just since, if we can just keep producing people that are having successful personal and professional lives, I think that we've done our job.
Fantastic. So, gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for participating in another edition of Coach Connection, where we can connect the coaches of today to the world. We know that it takes a community to inspire the lives of tomorrow's outstanding professional athletes.
Coaches Connection, connecting you and the greater DMV to local sports programs, as well as the coaches that inspire our local youth. This show has been brought to you by the Scholar Athlete Sports Network, SASN.TV.